What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
What is going on, OTB Nation? Before we start into the meat and bones of today's episode and getting into all the lacrosse stuff, DJ and I were just talking before we started recording, and one of the lacrosse community's biggest and best is currently missing, according to a lot of local news outlets. Former Atlas Lacrosse Club athlete and one of Australia lacrosse's finest, Callum Robinson, and his brother and one of their friends were on a surfing trip and haven't been heard from since Saturday, April 27th. There's a lot of, just like discourse going on, trying to, find them. There is, increased, search for them right now. They were on a surfing trip in Mexico. So we just want to send our best to Callum's entire family and the families of everyone involved, and hoping that Callum, his brother, and their friend are found safely and soon and swiftly, and that they return to Australia and the United States respectively, unharmed and in good hands.
Absolutely. Just sending prayers, positivity, strength, and really hoping him and his friends' family return home. It's just a damper on what should be a great weekend. And I can't imagine, how his former teammates are feeling and current teammates and just, what's going through their heads. And
their parents, obviously.
Yeah. And, former coaches and programs trying to play in conference tournaments and such right now with, that on their mind. It's tough.
So our best to the Robinson family and hoping that they are found safe and sound. But hope everybody is doing all right. And welcome into episode number 321 of the award nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, and of course viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box podcast, the official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. KB and Deej coming at you. We got a lot to dive into from the NLL postseason. Nat St. Laurent is playing 4D chess on everyone's heads as he swings another trade on Thursday morning that took everyone by surprise. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of the things that Mike and Paul talked about on one-on-ones. Deej will get into conference championships and tournament play in the college game, and whatever else pops up on our docket we will discuss. Plus we'll also we'll tease some things because we got some confirmed and committed guests for the 3rd annual Outside the Box PLL College Draft Extravaganza companion stream going down Tuesday, May 7th on the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Myself, DJ, Chase, aka the PLL Pipeline, our intern, will all be on stream, and we got some awesome guests coming down the pipeline that we are very stoked about, that will be joining us throughout the night or for the entire night, who knows. But we'll get to that later on in the show. Before we get into all of that, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at OTB LaxPod, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. DJ and I have been talking. We got some stuff coming. If we get to 2,000 followers on Twitter and 1,000 followers on Instagram, we're going to do some things to bolster the content and be a little more professional across the socials and just boosting what we're able to do on social. So get us to 2,000 followers on Twitter. We're about 500-ish, probably like 450 away, give or take. And then we're about like 475 away on Instagram. I think that's doable. Go get us to those milestones, and some big things will be coming on the socials. And shout out to Chase. He just hit 1,700 on Instagram, doing the damn thing. So go follow us on the socials. Follow DJ SCS_NextGreat on Twitter. Follow me at KBIZZL311 on Twitter. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Those two in particular, though, because we get direct analytics from Apple and Spotify and can see how we're growing and pushing numbies for all of our episodes. Keep subscribing over there. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. Be a friend to tell a friend, and keep on subscribing on Apple and Spotify. And of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@undergroundsportsphiladelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this show every single week, full video episodes of every show on our network, clips, shorts, live streams, including our PLL draft extravaganza. Original video content is all on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@undergroundsportsphiladelphia. And subscribe to the Outside the Box podcast YouTube channel as well, because that's where all of our vlog content is going to be coming from. Final Four weekend, PLL Albany, PLL Philly, PLL Fairfield, PLL Baltimore, and the PLL playoffs. Whole lot of
good stuff coming. About to be a crazy summer.
It's going to be insane. So keep subscribing. YouTube.com/@undergroundsportsphiladelphia and YouTube.com/@OTBLaxPod. And of course, get your merch at PHI Apparel Company, the best merch partners in the game. Get your official Outside the Box podcast merch, shirts, hoodies, all available. And it is the most effective and direct way to support everything Deej and I are doing. We want to see people rocking OTB merch on the road this summer. And if you want to stand out in the crowd, whether you're going to an NLL playoff game, getting ready for the PLL season, going to your favorite college team's conference championship, going to Final Four weekend, we want to see that OTB merch out and about. Go to phiapparel.co so you can stand out in the crowd, and use code UNDERGROUND for 10% off any and all apparel orders. When you get your merch, tag us in it. We'll repost it everywhere on our socials. So go stand out in the crowd, phiapparel.co, code UNDERGROUND, 10% off your order. Deej, what's popping?
Living the dream, man. Living the dream. I'm excited for this weekend. Lots of good lacrosse going to be on. I'm going to be working on a lacrosse tournament here in town. I got some prom send-offs, graduation this weekend. So got a lot going on, but it's going to be a good one.
As we go on.
And I just found out that we are playing in our region's play-in game for the tournament, which means my team has a chance to do something our program has never done, and that's win a state tournament game. So still a positive note to possibly end
It's the Kalamazoo play-in tournament, brought to you by big-ass NBA sponsor.
Could you imagine? That would be insane. But yeah, pretty much.
You just get Chuck and Ernie and Shaq and the whole crew just pre-game, post-game for your playing game.
Well, because like the way it works is like,
now you see Chuck DJ that right there, he's a knucklehead.
Yeah, that's exactly what they would say.
This whole team, they're full of knuckleheads, but you know what, Chuck? I love the knucklehead, Shaq. I love these knuckleheads out here playing lacrosse. They're doing the thing. You know what? I like lacrosse some more than some of these NBA play-in teams. Why are the Atlanta Hawks in the NBA play-in when this Kalamazoo United team could have been in here dunking on all of these motherfuckers?
That would be next level. Next level.
Send the Atlanta Hawks to San Antonio. Did you see that clip of Chuck and Shaq talking about Texas? I thought Shaq was going to like cough up a lung from laughing so hard.
Oh my God.
It was so he was talking about somewhere in Texas and saying that the people were dirty, the water was dirty. It was so fun. Like Shaq was like leaning over the desk, like crying, laughing. It was so funny.
My God.
Did you see like the NBA broadcast rights kind of up in the air right now? Could be going back to NBC.
I did see that.
Did you see Chuck's contract?
No.
So if Charles Barkley has an opt-out in his contract with TNT, that if TNT loses broadcast rights for the NBA, he can opt out of his contract.
Oh.
And go wherever.
That's kind of
insane.
Smart man.
Chuck, not a knucklehead.
The businessman. He ain't win no chip, but he sure got some money.
And you know what? If TNT loses the NBA, that's just terrible, Chuck. That's just terrible.
I don't know, man. Turner's been on some last couple years anyway.
That show should just have to follow wherever the NBA goes.
I agree, because it's just too good. It's just too good.
You know what else is good, Deej? The NLL playoffs. Let's recap the quarterfinals because, as we always say, I get hot in the postseason. Went 4-0 in our picks. You went 3-1, so 7-1 combined ain't too shabby. It was quite an interesting quarterfinals, to say the least. 2 overtime games. And it was a quarterfinals that I tweeted this out. No team scored more than 10 goals. The most goals scored was the Buffalo Bandits, scoring 10 against Redacted. And it was quite a quarterfinals for defense and goaltending, which I'm sure you were salivating over. I was on the edge of my seat, sweating my ass off, pulling for our boys in San Diego to come through for us, which they did. But a credit to, I'd say, 7 of the 8 teams who full-blown showed up, played extremely well, fought to the very end. We'll get to the one team that we were both kind of perplexed by and it was like, what the hell happened? But even Rochester only scored 6, but it was a 9-6 game. And for most of the game, they were in the mix and it was never out of reach for them. The 2 overtime games were unbelievable. Just such good energy in both arenas, in San Diego and in Buffalo. Just everything you could have asked for from like a pure cinema standpoint for 3 of the 4 games happened in the quarterfinals, and it was just a perfect storm weekend for the NLL. And the top 4 teams prevailed. Your 1 seed, your 2 seed, your 3 seed, and your 4 seed are moving on to the semifinals.
Yeah, I tried to pull a hunch on an upset, and it didn't.
Which I don't think. I think a lot of
whatsoever.
people agreed with you. I think that was like the biggest coin flip game going into it, because we know what Halifax was capable of offensively. We know what they were capable of defensively and in transition, and they have experience versus a very young, inexperienced Albany team outside of a few guys who have career playoff experience. And man, Halifax just no-showed.
Absolutely. It was one of the worst showings I've seen, not just this season, just in the last couple of years. It's very reminiscent of a couple of the Woods games we saw the last couple of years where they only scored 3 goals. Like it's tough to watch a team kind of implode like that. Like, and it wasn't like things weren't working. They got some shots off and there were opportunities there. They just could not capitalize on any of them. They weren't really winning any of the 50-50, and it just seemed like the spark wasn't there.
And the crazy part about this game, which you did say for the Buffalo game, it would come down to this. Here's where the game was won for Albany. In the team stats category, shots on goal were damn near equal. Albany had 56 shots on goal. Halifax had 55. Face-offs, damn near equal. Jake Withers and Halifax won 9 out of 17. Nards and Albany won 8 out of 17. The power play, Halifax won the power play, even though they went 1 for 5. And they scored 3 goals. One of them was on the power play. They went 1 for 5. Albany went 0 for 8 on the power play. Which brings me to the next point. If Albany had 8 power play opportunities, here's where Halifax lost the game, Deej. Penalty minutes. Albany, 12. Halifax, 67 penalty minutes. That's just undisciplined through and through from an experienced veteran-filled team to have 67 penalty minutes in a playoff game against an inexperienced young team in a moment where you should have been able to showcase how talented you are. Jake Withers had 2 10-minute penalties. He had a game misconduct penalty and an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty in the fourth quarter. David Brock had 24 penalty minutes from David Brock, all called at the same time for a dead ball foul, unsportsmanlike conduct, both 2-minute fouls, then a 10-minute unsportsmanlike, and a 10-minute game misconduct. And David Brock was in the penalty box ready to go malice at the palace on a fan. I don't know if you saw that clip.
I think that's what one of his penalties was for.
That was insane. Like, buddy, you are way too much of a veteran to be losing your mind on a fan like that at that point in the game. Like,
But I think it was a lot more than just the fan. The
and
fan
we
was
obviously
just the
don't know.
boiling point.
We obviously don't know what happened there because we're not going to hear what a fan allegedly said or didn't say.
Right.
But it's the fourth quarter. Your team is down, trying to claw their way back, and to showcase that is just kind of like that was like the boiling point almost, and kind of encapsulated Halifax's season as a whole of the frustrations, the ups and downs, and to have all of that go down. And I'm sorry, Jake Withers had 27 minutes of penalties there because he had a 5-minute slashing, a 2-minute unsportsmanlike conduct, a 10-minute game misconduct, and a 10-minute unsportsmanlike conduct. That's just undisciplined, and just there's got to be a voice in your head that tells you, hey, we're in the playoffs. Like, we got to be better than this. We're veterans. Like, that's rough. That's a tough look to end your season like that.
It's hard when you're losing a game that you shouldn't be losing.
Yeah, for sure.
Because,
I mean,
you know what? My team got into a fight this year, and it was the same scenario where we were losing to a team that we shouldn't have been losing to, and just frustration boiled over. They said a few things, and boom, there it was. Like, I get it. And yeah, you should kind of be more mature in that scenario, but I mean, losing a game 9-3 that you should win, hearing that one person say, fuck your mom, normally it's not a big deal, but in that moment, it's the most disrespectful thing you've ever heard.
It's also very funny seeing 37-year-old David Brock lose his mind like that.
Get over
like
the glass. Like, insane. Insane.
Like, that was like in Madagascar when Alex like gets hit with like the crazy pills and he's going feral and he's like chasing after Marty like he's in the wild. That was David Brock.
Literally. He was like, I don't care anymore. He was out of there. Insanity.
That was nuts. 67 penalty minutes in a playoff game. We got to ask Graham Perro if that's the most penalty minutes.
I don't think so, man.
In a modern era NLL playoff game.
Maybe, but I doubt it, honestly.
Because that's a whole hour.
Hey, they add up. They add up quickly.
You getting a whole episode and some commercials of Game of Thrones from them penalty minutes.
Hey, bro, it adds up quickly.
Man.
I mean, Panther City showed out, though.
They did. I want to give them their kudos and like a tip of the cap to Panther City because I watched, I'd say 3/4 of that game, like start to finish. I tuned in late because I was watching the Phillies game, and then I tuned into that game because it was the late game. But we talked about it last week. We weren't sure how they were going to perform without Donnie in the lineup because obviously Jonathan Donville was ruled out with injury. Man, they played so well, and like, sure, shots weren't falling completely for them, but they were going goal for goal most of that entire game with San Diego, and that's exactly what they did. They went goal for goal, quarter for quarter. It was 2-2 at the end of the first, 6-6 at halftime, 7-7 at the end of the third, 8-8 at the end of the fourth, and then San Diego pulls away in overtime. I think the only blemish for Panther City is, and it's going to happen anytime you're going up against TB9, Trevor Baptiste worked him at the faceoff stripe. San Diego won 19 of 21 at the dot, which is just like, goddamn, Trevor. But like, both teams went 0 on the power play. Penalty minutes were at an all-time low. 10 penalty minutes combined in that game. And San Diego should have and could have won by a lot more. They outshot Panther City shots on goal wise 63-45. And shots just weren't falling for San Diego, but Panther City's defense, and a huge credit to Nick Damude, like, just was standing on his head the entire game. And like, there were some shots that I'm like, how did that not go in? it was very impressive from them. And like I tweeted at their official account, and I tweeted just in general, like there's nothing for Panther City or their fans to like hang their heads on this game. Like they played so fucking well, and to have a roster like that is littered with not as high profile guys versus this super team that San Diego has, that's a damn good effort in a postseason game, your second postseason. Like that is a moment, I think, for a lot of playoff teams where you can kind of go down two paths. Like next year, Panther City can go down a path where like they're kind of in a similar spot. They go like 10-8, 9-9, sneak into the playoffs, and similar story. Or they can go down the path where this is like the bulletin board for them. This is like, we know what we're capable of doing. Let's build on this experience. Let's remember what that felt like to lose in overtime. And we could see Panther City, be 3-4 games above 500 and getting in a better position for themselves, winning a playoff game, and building on, the successes from there. And I think that's the direction that franchise is headed in.
Yeah, I think their game this past weekend showed how they continue to get better every year. Like every year they've been a program is continuous, improvement. And I think they're going to be in a position where they're possibly hosting a playoff game next year, which I could see them winning. And I think a little more people would show out to a playoff game than what they get in their regular season. And for as hard as they play and as good as they are, I think it's a travesty that they're not getting more people out to their games in the regular season. But I think a playoff game and a playoff win would encourage people to come into the stadium a little bit more. And they're trending toward doing both of those things possibly next year. They're in a really good position. They just ran into a team that's playing their best ball at the best time to be doing it in the San Diego Seals.
Can we talk about how much of a gamer and how much of a, when the lights come on, he shines the brightest type of player that the very first guest in OTB history, Austin Stotts, is?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, everyone knows it, but like, it feels like it gets talked about a lot, but not enough all at the same time. My God, when this dude steps on the floor, every single moment that he has the ball in his stick, or any single moment that goes positive for San Diego, I'm ready to run through a brick wall for him because he is just on fire every single second of every game he's playing in. That goal he scored where his helmet fell off, which I know a lot of people were, questioning should that have counted. And I saw Teddy Jenner tweeted the rule about it. You have a certain amount of time to either take a shot or pass it. He shot it. Goal was good.
It seems like a continuation play in the NBA. Like
Yeah,
it's a
that's
matter
pretty
of
much what it
the
breaks
flow
down
of
to.
movement. Yeah.
That goal right there, I think, swung all the momentum, even though it was a goal for goal game and went to overtime. That swung the momentum in San Diego's favor from a home field advantage perspective. The crowd erupted when Austin scored that goal, and it felt like from that moment on, the crowd was that much more invested in like willing San Diego to win. Not that they weren't to begin with, but I felt like that was like the moment that kind of defined the game. Obviously, Dane Dobie scoring in overtime wins it, but that moment was like, oh, this is San Diego's not going to lose this game.
And I don't even think it was a crowd thing. That kind of stuff permeates through the team. When you see a guy go that hard and make that kind of play, you want to go out and make a play like that too, to have his back. Like that is really what playing on a team and playing in sports is about, is seeing somebody sacrifice for the guys next to him or the girls next to him, and then doing that same thing because they want to, almost give back. Be like, hey, I see you doing it, so I'm gonna join you. He pretty much is that guy, no matter where he goes, what team it is. He's that guy who makes that kind of play, and then dudes are like, man, if he's doing that, I got to do something to help him out, and then it just snowballs from there. And even if it is a back and forth game, you have that confidence to feel like you can do a little bit more than the guy across from you.
And one thing that won't get talked about because it wasn't, highlight reel goal scoring. Big shout out to Mr. in the business of ending other teams' seasons, Westberg. 5 assists in this game. Obviously, Westberg can go and score with the best of them, But when you have a guy like that who is so unselfish and willing to move the ball the way that he's capable of moving the ball to rack up 5 assists in this game, that is elite teammate vibes in a high pressure situation. Because, like we've mentioned, this game was back and forth. They were trading goals nonstop. I think the largest lead in this game was Panther City leading by 2. San Diego scored, Panther City, San Diego, Panther City, San Diego, Panther City. Panther City led by 2, and that was by 1. So yeah, it was 1 goal leads the entire time until the very end. So like for Westberg to kind of just step up and be that dude who's like, okay, I'm gonna facilitate, I'm gonna find the open guy and feed them the ball. Elite teammate in a high pressure, situation.
Just got to know your role, and sometimes your role changes by game. So he kind of just realized it wasn't his night to be a goal scorer, and he just had to figure out how to find guys in good positions or actively set guys up by being some sort of decoy, knowing that it wasn't really his night offensively. That's just what great players do.
And I'm just saying, hey, shout out to the San Diego Seals. Look what happens when you show the boys love. Look what has happened for that team versus another team. Hey, we tried to tell you Banditland was going to come true, and they did. 10-9 in overtime. Josh Byrne is a certified psycho in the most respectful and positive way possible. Dane Smith is insane, and Buffalo showed out, and they did the damn thing. They went Wendy's mode, no free shout out on the power play, 4 for 4. And man, what a difference it has been for them. And we talked about it last week when we were previewing this game. What a difference having Connor Farrell has been for them.
Yeah,
it changed their season.
Absolutely, because they just have the ball and they're not constantly having to make a stop first to get the ball back, which plays a toll more on your defense because they feel a little bit more pressure and they're just bound to be playing a little bit more than the offense is, especially because not every offensive possession is a full 30. Sometimes you go down and shoot quick and it's coming back the other way. So that really takes a toll on your defense more than your offense. And now the defense has kind of been able to relax, take a breath, and just play ball. And it's helped them out tremendously on all sides of the floor.
And I mean, it's pretty telling that, the friends of the program on Redacted, and obviously Lyle, who has not been on the show, but we love Lyle Thompson on this show. But the friends of the program popped off for Redacted, being that, let's see here, Brendan Bomberry, 4 points, including a hat trick. Andrew Q, hat trick, 5 total points. Lyle obviously had 5 points in this game as well. But that's what happens. The friends of the program pop off. But when you don't show love, things happen. And obviously, the power of friendship prevailed, where we have more friends of the program on Buffalo in, Ian McKay, 3 points. Listener of the program, Tahoka, 2 points in this game, had a big time goal. Josh Byrne, 5 goals, 6 total points. Dane Smith, 6 assists. Chase Frazier had an assist. Let's see who else friend of the program wise. Yeah, I mean, and Connor Farrell was a stud at the stripe for them against Jeremy Thompson, and Buffalo's moving on. And you can never count Buffalo out when the postseason rolls around. And now we get a best 2 out of 3 series between Toronto and Buffalo, which everyone is foaming at the mouth for. And we get a best 2 out of 3 series between San Diego and Albany, which I think is going to be electric, simply because it all starts with Trevor versus Joe Nardella, which is one of the best face-off matchups of modern lacrosse history.
Where else would we want things to start?
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
I'm pumped. I think that will ultimately be a big part of that series.
Mm-hmm.
It's who's getting the ball.
Also, kudos to Rochester. We mentioned that they hung in their game. They lose 9-6 to Toronto, but we're never really out of it. And I know 6 goals optically looks like, oh, what happened? It was really the tale of this game was Rochester got shut out in the third quarter, and they gave up 5 goals to start the game. That was the tale of the tape. They outscored Toronto on the power play. They went 2 for 5 on the power play. Toronto went 0 for 3. They outshot Toronto. They had less penalty minutes than Toronto. But at the end of the day, when you allow 5 goals in the opening frame and 4 in a row, that's a hole that you dug yourself in that is tough to dig yourself out of in the playoffs against an uberly talented team. Challen Rogers did his thing in this game big time. Tom Schreiber had a disgusting switch of the hand goal, which I saw our guy Liam Murphy quotes me and said NLL defenders when they see someone switch hands. It's like, is this allowed?
No, actually, it's not.
Filthy goal. Ryan Smith had himself one hell of a game in this one, had a hat trick. Connor Fields played extremely well. Just obviously wasn't enough gas in the tank for Rochester, and the offense couldn't break through the brick wall that is Nick Rose, who's probably going to win your Goaltender of the Year award. Had 51 saves in this game, so I mean, it's not like Rosie was just having an easy night. He was facing shots. It's just they weren't going through because that's what Nick Rose does. But man, we are poised for a beautiful semifinal, Deej, with the top 4 seeds in the playoffs advancing. I did want to get your thoughts, though, because I saw our good pal Hutton Jackson say that it's time for Halifax to blow it up. And I know you and I were talking about this a little bit off pod. I don't know what there really is to blow up because I think Halifax has done a very good job draft-wise in the recent years of building young talent on that team. Obviously, the faces of the team are a little bit older than most with, Jammer and Randy Stotts. But I mean, you look at some of the guys on that Halifax team, it's a relatively young roster from Cole Kirst to Ryan Tarafanko to Clark Peterson. Pull up the rest of their roster. Tyson Bell still relatively in his prime on the defensive end. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily blow it up because there's not much to blow up outside of, just some older guys getting older, but they're still playing at an elite level. I just don't know where the buttons need to be pushed for Halifax to kind of take that next step and elevate where we know they're capable of getting to with the unbelievable talent that's on their roster.
I think they gotta, ironically, because it hasn't worked for the most part in the recent NLL, but some of these teams are starting to get better. It's still kind of an old guy's game in terms of having veterans really helps you out. I think they keep a few of the veterans they have, Warren Hill, Stotts, maybe Bushi, those kind of guys, just to have that experience there and leadership. But I think you got to go young. You get rid of some of these older guys and you really go after some young talent and develop a new culture and new identity and just run with that. I think Albany did that a little bit, went a little younger, and I think that helped them out in the last couple of years. Obviously, the year before wasn't great, but without Joe Nardella, it really changed their season, and it kind of happened all so quickly that they didn't really have time to recover. Panther City is another team who's young but has a few experienced guys that are helping out. I think Rochester's kind of in that position as well, and they've made the playoffs the last couple of years as well. So I think that may be the route for Halifax is to keep a few experienced guys, but go younger and just kind of start anew.
Yeah, I mean the oldest guys on the team are their 3 biggest goal scorers, which I don't know if blowing that up is necessarily like the formula, because obviously you want that veteran presence in the locker room. But everyone else on the roster that we mentioned, like Clark Peterson's a 1997 birthday, like Aaron Woods made his debut this year. He's 1995. Austin Shanks is 1994. Eric Fennell's 1994. Kersey's 2000. Dawson Theed's 97. Briley Maxwell's 2003. Randy Stotts is only 1992. Like he's only like a year older than me. Bo Hunter's 99. Cody Jameson, obviously, I don't think he's going to put another uniform on. That's just the type of player he is. Like he's going to retire with Halifax. Like Graham Hossick's only 1992. Max Wilson 99. Johnny Pearson's 95. Withers is 94. Nankun Thompson's 1999. Jake Fox is 96. Carter McKenzie is 2000. Terry's 98. Colton Armstrong's 95. Luke Magnan's 92. So it's like they have guys that are young and in their prime. It's just a matter of like, I don't know what they need to do to kind of just like get everyone on the same page on a consistent basis. Like we've seen Halifax pop off and have dominant stretches. It's just a matter of them putting it together when it matters. And that was just a out of character type of performance from them against Albany. Because even though that game could have gone either way, I think it could have been a lot closer if Halifax just played more disciplined. And they quite frankly could have won if they played a little more disciplined throughout the game.
Yeah, I don't think they're too far off, but I think there's something that they could use from younger guys, kind of just that want to be successful, that want to, I shouldn't say successful, just that want to and drive to really have the energy to go. Because, as much as we want to say veterans just don't have it in them as much. Like they have short bursts, but you kind of need those guys who can have those bursts for longer periods of time to fill in the gaps. And I don't think Halifax has enough of that right now.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting offseason for them, to say the least. But let's move to previewing the semifinals. We have games 1 and 2 this coming weekend, Friday, Sunday, and then if game 3 is necessary, it would be next week for both. But things get started, Deej, Friday, May 3rd, 7:30 Eastern Time in Hamilton for Buffalo versus Toronto game 1. And then 10:30 on Friday is Albany versus San Diego in San Diego. And then on Sunday, 3 p.m. is San Diego versus Albany. And then 5:30 Eastern Time on Sunday is Banditland hosting Toronto. What are you most excited about from these two matchups? The top 4 teams advance. I know it looks a little chalk, but you get an all-time rivalry in Toronto versus Buffalo. You get a team in San Diego who's trying to finally get over that hump after pushing the chips into the middle of the table for the last 3 seasons, give or take, going and signing Curtis Dixon, going and signing Dane Doby, getting Wes Berg via trade from Calgary in 2019, trading for Trevor Baptiste, getting Brody Merrill to unretire. They have just put together this roster that is just full of unbelievable talent, and they're trying to, finish the job. And then you have the young guns in Albany, who nobody expected to be here. They're kind of the underdogs, even though they're the 4 seed. Where it's, a bunch of young guys that look like they're just out there playing and having fun, being loose, and that can play to your advantage. I think the 4 teams that is best for the league to advanced, and this is going to be an unbelievable semifinal round.
Oh yeah, the storylines are perfect. You have a team that has been expected to kind of be near the top and compete for a championship since they became a team. and they finally kind of, you can almost see it in the way they play this year. They truly believe that they can do it. So it's like they're like, okay, we have this expectation, but now we're living up to it. So like this is one of those seasons that we like have to go hard for it. But then you have Albany, who's like, hey,
playing with house money.
We're here. Like nobody expected us to be here. We're here. So if we win, awesome. If we don't, awesome. We did some things that people weren't expecting, and we have a place to start and continue to build from. And then the other side is a perennial matchup that some people are tired of seeing and others are like over the moon about, because it gives you amazing lacrosse every single time they step on the floor together. I think it's going to be, and you're looking at a team that struggled to start the year, but proved that like having that experience and just remaining calm and playing your game gets you where you want to be, back competing for a championship. And the other, who is expected to be in this position continuously, always runs into this team and can't get over them, has been the best team by far all year and is just looking to finish it out. The storylines couldn't get any better.
What comparison would you draw to the major four sports for this Buffalo Toronto rivalry? I'm trying to like think of like the best comparisons. And it almost feels like when the postseason rolls around for this matchup, it gives off like vintage Lakers Celtics vibes. Where like these two teams, they don't really like each other. They're battling it out. It's going to be physical. It's going to be, rowdy no matter what arena it's being played in. And it's something that is like almost appointment television. And that's what Lakers Celtics was back in the day.
I would have to say Packers Cowboys, because the Packers always win.
Good point. It's almost like Phillies Braves.
Yeah, it's like it's the rivalry's there and it's intense, and both teams are good enough to win a championship, and both teams are there and could beat each other. But when they're playing in the playoffs, no matter where they're playing, it seems to be one team that comes out on top. In this scenario, it's Buffalo of recent memory for quite a while now, where when these two teams meet in the playoffs, they're the ones moving on.
Good call. Yeah, it's Cowboys Packers, it's Phillies Braves. I don't know what the comparison in hockey would be, just because hockey is such a unique dynamic to it, and the matchups are always different. And basketball, basketball's the interesting one because they're always meeting up, and like for a while, like I don't know, and it'll be determined whoever wins this one. We'll see if it happens, but like if Toronto ends up winning this one, like it could end up being very similar to Warriors Cavs.
Maybe, or like Heat Magic. The Magic haven't beat the Heat in the playoffs in forever. I think maybe they met 2009 when Dwight went to the finals. They might have beat them then, but if they didn't meet then, it's been ages since the Magic have beat the Heat in the playoffs, if they ever have.
Let's see. It was nope, they didn't play each other because it was Atlanta beat Miami 4-3, Cleveland swept Atlanta, and then Orlando beat Cleveland 4-2 to go to the finals.
That's right, because LeBron had a buzzer beater in that. Yep, I remember that. So yeah, no, I don't know the last time the Magic beat the Heat.
I like the Packers, Cowboys, and Phillies Braves comparison though, because it's also those two aren't happening in a championship, and it is like the second round of the playoffs where that always comes through and happens. So it's going to be a ton of fun, and also the NLL revealed the new NLL Cup. Have you laid your eyes on this bad boy yet, Deej?
I've not seen the NLL Cup at all.
All right, I'm going to send you the photo here because it is a beautiful upgrade to the NLL Cup trophy here. Let's see. Sending to DJ now. It is awesome. I have the description up here. So the trophy, the new NLL Cup trophy design integrates the legendary history of lacrosse, North America's original pastime, created as highly revered cultural events by Indigenous peoples throughout the U.S. and Canada, with a bold and modern look fitting the NLL, the next major league. Today, trophies celebrate the winners, and the new design also symbolizes the celebration and thanksgiving the players and their communities gave to the creator during these gatherings that started generations ago, inviting everyone to welcome the sacred, spiritual, and humanitarian, that's a new word for me, aspects of the sport, and to honor not only the winners, but all the players, the spectators, and the history of the game. The trophy is 25 inches by 11.5 inches, and the designer is Catherine Corbiere, and she is I'm going to butcher this, so I apologize in advance, Ojibwe metal worker and artist from the Machijing First Nation, who previously fabricated architectural pieces and sculptures for corporations, local governments, and the Toronto Stock Exchange. Catherine's passion for working with steel is to express a strong visual aesthetic by bringing the material to life in the form of structural design. Her artistry embraces both traditional and contemporary metal and crafting practices, seeking to express herself as a modern artist grounded within a vibrant Indigenous community. Catherine continually expands her practice and knowledge of the materials, seeking increasingly complex and large-scale projects, enabling her to explore advanced techniques and execute projects from design to completion in her fully equipped fabrication shop. It looks awesome.
I love it. It's about time it's been like an actual cup. Like, you're going to play for a cup, make it a cup. There's no point for it to be any other kind of trophy if you're going to call it a cup. But yeah, this is innovation is always great in my opinion. It just brings in new fans. Small changes always tend to catch the eye of new people. So it looks great. The story behind it is amazing, and that's just the kind of niche things that make sports what they are.
Yeah, so it's going to be a fantastic semifinal weekend, and we'll see if it bleeds into next weekend as well. But Deej, I think we head on over to the pick pond, feed some postseason ducks, and get everyone geared up for the NLL semifinals. And it's our picks of the week, powered by Kenwood Beer, the official beer partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's a refreshing light beer, just 4.1% ABV, only 120 calories and just 8 grams of carbs. You guys can go to kenwoodbeer.com and use the Kenny Finder to see who's got Kenwood beer on tap in the Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Maryland, and New Jersey areas. You can also get Kenwood beer at your local liquor stores in those markets. And DJ just announced that Tall Boy Kennies are going to be available all summer long at the Mann Center in Philadelphia. So if you're going to a concert or an event at the Mann Center, you can get Kenwood beer there as well, which is awesome. Shout out to Kenwood beer, getting into one of the coolest concert venues in Philadelphia during the summertime. Also check out the Kenny storefront to get those awesome Kenwood beer pint glasses, awesome Kenwood beer apparel. It's kenwoodbeer.com. Must be 21 or older to do so. And of course, please drink responsibly. So as we do with the semifinals, obviously we are not going to have an episode until next week after this one. 2 games are going to occur. DJ and I are going to kind of be on our That's So Raven grind and look into the future and try to predict how each game will go. And hopefully we're right. And if we're not, we'll find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. So we will give picks for both games, and that is how our semifinals will go. Deej, we start with the first matchup. It is the rivalry, 7:30 Eastern time in Toronto. Buffalo Bandits, Toronto Rock. How do you see Friday's game playing out?
It's going to be this whole series is going to be close. This whole series is going to be close. But I think with the way Toronto has played this year It's a home game for them. I'm sure it's going to be sold out. The fans are behind it. And if they're going to get over the hump, they're going to need to punch first. So I think they're going to be thinking along the same lines, super energized for this first game. And I think they pick up the win in game one.
I'm with you. I think Toronto takes game one. If they want to win the series, they have to take game one. Like they need to kind of get started on the right foot, and winning at home against one of your big rivals gets that going. So I think Toronto takes game one in that one. And then we go to 10:30 Eastern time in San Diego. Albany taking on our friends from the San Diego Seals, which if you guys have not already, go DM them something creative. Go and get your San Diego Seals baseball jersey. I'm going Seals. Home team going to get that dub. There's travel involved going east to west. San Diego had a great home environment against Panther City. I think that continues. I think this series is going to be really close too, and it all comes down to that face-off dot in a lot of ways. But I'm going to take San Diego to get the dub in game one.
Yeah, I think, like I said a little bit earlier, San Diego's kind of, one, playing their best ball right now, and two, kind of in that mode where they're like, we've had these expectations for a while, and we truly believe in ourselves to get it done this year. And I don't think that stops, especially at home. Pechanga is going to be absolutely insane Friday night. So, yeah, I got San Diego taking the crown as well.
Then we go to Cinco de Mayo, 2 games on Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern time in Albany. The Firewolves hosting the Seals. How do you see game 2 playing out in the 2 versus 4 matchup? Or sorry, 2 versus 3.
I think the Seals close this out. I think they're punching their ticket into the finals. They can kind of taste it, and they don't want to give Albany any chance to kind of come in and spoil things. I think they're going to go 2-0 and possibly get a little bit of extra rest, depending on what happens on the other side of things.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you there. I think San Diego having the experience and just the will to get a lot of these veterans that opportunity to go and play for an NLL Cup will prevail, and San Diego will advance to the NLL Finals, which brings us to 5:30 Eastern time on Sunday. Deej, Toronto, Buffalo in Bandit Land. Guess what, guys? It's a best 2 out of 3, and you can't have 2 out of 3 unless you get 3. I think this series is going 3. I'm gonna go Buffalo to even the series on Sunday and send this to game 3 in Toronto.
Well, you know what this means, right?
Oh boy.
This could go really good for us, or this could go really bad for us. Because I am in a total agreement that Buffalo is going to win their game at home on Sunday, and that series will be going to 3 games.
It's what the people want. It's what the people want, and it's what the people need, and it's what we deserve. We need 3 games of Buffalo and Toronto. So there you have it. Deej and I on the same page. Game 1s, we got Toronto and San Diego. Game 2s, we got San Diego and Buffalo. And those are your NLL postseason semifinals. Game 1 and 2 picks of the week, powered by Kenwood Beer. It's just how we do. It's how we get the people going. And, typically our postseason picks are pretty locked in. So we'll see how things continue to unveil themselves to us. But, Deej, we move from the box game to the field game. And it is brought to you by our app code in the PLL app. If you're not using the PLL app, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? You need to step your game up and get that PLL app on your phone. I was in the app today, Deej, and it looks like they are doing a little innovation pretty soon. And it looks like the PLL chat is coming very soon, where it's going to be almost like Discord in the PLL app itself, which is going to be awesome. That's going to be a huge game changer during the season. I've also been told that OTB is going to have their own fantasy group to start the year in the app. So look out for that once the season gets closer. We're going to be using the app during the draft in our draft extravaganza. And if you want to get 500 XP added to your account, you got to use our app code, which is OTB Pod. Download the PLL app in the App Store, Google Play Store, or go to pll.app. And when you download the app, go to the redeem code section and type in OTBPOD, and you get 500 XP on your account. And the PLL app is a game changer. The schedules are in there, up to the second scores, stats, trades, everything goes down in the PLL app. It is truly a game changer. So download the PLL app and use code OTBPOD to get 500 XP in the PLL app. DJ, our guy, Nat St. Laurent's playing 4D chess. We were talking about it when it happened this morning. We were kind of on, I wouldn't say polar opposite ends, but we weren't on full-blown seeing the vision at first. I am a huge fan of what happened for the Redwoods. I think this is a heist in Nat St. Laurent's trade bag. If you missed it, the Redwoods acquired LSM Jared Connors from the Utah Archers in exchange for the 13th pick in this year's college draft, which is a second-round pick. So now the Redwoods have 2 third-round picks and a 4th-round pick, and you're living outside your mind if you think those are the only picks that the Redwoods will have in this draft. Secondly, to acquire a former top 5 pick and a LSM of the Year finalist for a late 2nd-round pick is a highway robbery in and of itself. Plus, Jared Connors, listener and follower of the program, is entering his prime. He's 26 years old. He's a huge physical presence. We've seen what he was able to do for the Archers to go and win a championship. And when you can add somebody who has a ring on their finger to your locker room that you are trying to not build a culture, but like reset your culture almost, because you have a lot of guys retiring. You moved on from some guys and you're trying to establish a new culture. To bring in a championship winning player to your locker room is a huge move. And this kind of came out of nowhere in my book. And I know it came out of nowhere in your book. I love this move for the Redwoods. This is a move you make when you are ready to kind of set the tone for your team and be in a position to shock a lot of people for an upcoming season where there are a lot of doubters surrounding the California Redwoods and their ability to win games this year, because they've had a lot of guys retire, a lot of guys moved on, and it's kind of a new era of Redwoods lacrosse upcoming. I think Jared Connors is a phenomenal pickup for the price that Nat St. Laurent had to pay.
Yeah, it's a good move talent-wise in terms of Jared Connors. Like, he's a phenomenal player, one of the best LSMs in the game right now. And he was in a place where it was a little congested, coming to another place where it's a little congested, but I do think he's near the top, if not at the very top of the LSM talent on the Redwoods. I don't like the move for the Redwoods in terms of money and roster size and that piece, because you have a million polls already. Like, now if someone gets dropped or traded, whatever the case may be, then we're in a totally different scenario. But based upon what we see right now, pulling in another poll is just taking a spot from the midfield, which in my opinion is where you want to have the most depth in this league, where we have seen the Archers have great depth at midfield. The Water Dogs have great depth at midfield. The Whipsnakes, when they did win, had some of the best midfielders on the offensive side of the ball. That is where teams seem to be winning, is having depth in the midfield. And I don't think the Redwoods quite have enough depth in the midfield. So giving away draft picks in a draft that's heavy offensively, both attackman and midfield, seems like a little bit of – that's what I'm having trouble with. Is I feel like the Redwoods could be bolstering a part of their roster that they really need some extra help in, not because it's not good enough, but because you need bodies that can go all year there. For a poll, it's kind of like, I get it, especially as a defensive guy. I love the pick and the move, but we got to find ways to get some deep midfield guys.
So, two things here from me. Number one, I think this either confirms you're either moving Holden Garland or Owen Grant to defense.
Well, Holden Garland already played a lot of D over on the Cannon, so I think he was coming over to
he was
play
going
D.
to do that. He was just listed as an LSM and still is on the roster, but more than likely he's the move.
Yeah.
Number two,
I don't even think it's a question. I think he was traded for Garrett to pretty much take Garrett's spot because they were playing the same role essentially. That's pretty much what he was doing over with the Cannons.
Number two, Joe Keegan, friend of the pod, tweeted this out that the Redwoods, I don't know if you knew this stat, Deej, or if you saw this from Keegs. It's an interesting stat, and it makes a ton of sense when you go back and think about how the Woods have played since year one. But Joe Keegan tweeted, the Redwoods finished second in fast break goals in 2019, obviously the year that they went to the title game. But they haven't finished in the top 5 since. Jared Connors and Owen Grant could change that. Completely agree. I think those two are going to complement each other extremely well. Number two, I'm going to play a game with you. I'm going to give you player A, and I'm going to give you player B. You tell me which one you'd rather have as a coach and which one you think, just in the grand scheme, is more than likely cracking every week game day rosters. Mind you, I'll give you both of these players play the same position. All right. Player A has played in 14 career games, has 5 caused turnovers, 20 ground balls, has scored 1 career goal, 0 assists, and let's see. Has taken 1 2-pointer in their career, 0 for 1 on the 2-point shots. That's player A. Player B has played in 32 career games, has 21 caused turnovers, 62 ground balls, 9 career points, 2 of those being 2 2-pointers, 5 assists, has only had 3 penalty minutes in their career, and is a 29% 2-point shooter in 2023.
That's such a hard question to answer because it's
obviously the blind stats game, which is very fun to play, but
it's only hard because I'm not a stats guy whatsoever. Like, it's especially when it comes to defense, it's more about the very small things. Like, are you a good communicator? Are you always in the right spot? Do you have your stick out in the belly button? What are your feet? What is your feet movement like? What's your foot speed like? Can you, do a proper V hold? It's a lot of like small mechanical things. But if I had to choose, it would probably be player B.
I'll also add player A, career average 25% shooting percentage. Player B, career shooting percentage is a little skewed because last year was the first year that they were shooting. So their career shooting percentage is 7 because year 1 and 2 are 0. But you said player B you would rather take?
Probably.
Player B is the newly acquired Jared Connors for the Redwoods. Player A is Ryan Kennedy.
I don't think that's a fair comparison.
I just did it from a standpoint of, because we were talking about it earlier, that more than likely Jared Connors is bumping RK out of every week playing time, and we obviously don't know.
I don't even think RK was in the. I think he bumped Malik Sparrow out. I think he was going to come in and play right away.
Well, I was going to say we don't know what Malik
alongside OG.
Sparrow is going to provide, obviously, because he's never played in the PLL. So he's kind of just like an unknown.
Nah, he's fit for the PLL.
I mean, he is, but we just haven't seen him play in the PLL. Is my point. I think he's going to be awesome.
I don't think we got as many busts per se as you would see in other sports. Granted, the history isn't as long, so like there isn't as much opportunity there.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there aren't too many guys who like get signed or get drafted that aren't going to make an impact. And I think he'll crack a couple game day rosters this year, and I think he'll be a surprise to some people who may have either forgotten or just simply just didn't know.
I also think people are kidding themselves if you think Nat St. Laurent's going to sit around in what people are regarding as the best draft ever with 2 third-round picks and a 4th-round pick. It's like you're absolutely fooling yourself if you think that's the case.
We'll see what he does.
You know, you and I have talked about, you know, just the offense and the attack group in general, where you have Ryder, RP3, Westberg. Now you have Chris Gray. You have Alex Simmons, who you signed. Does that mean you trade Ryan Lee to get draft capital?
You got to trade. I think you got to start trading somebody. You got way too many guys that are like of value to kind of just let them go to the player pool, or you know, lose them in free agency.
Because I'll tell you who could use a Ryan Lee, and it helps him get to what I would presume is his close to home market, is the Denver Outlaws, the team he used to play for.
Yeah, and they got some nice capital over there.
They got some nice capital. I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me. You put Ryan Lee over there with Logan Wisnauskas and one of Brennan O'Neill or Shelley, whoever Pseudo decides to take, which you and I,
a true crime.
We both agree. We're both on the same page there. If it's not BO, but if you put Ryan Lee with, let's say, BO, Logan Wisnauskas, Cross Ferrara, like that's a nice piece to add to that offense.
Yeah. Either one of them, both of them, doesn't matter what pieces you add. I think they're only going to get better with this class of guys that is available.
Because he's a wing scorer that Chrome have not had ever. Really, when you think about it, outside of Heacock on Peacock year when Colin Heacock was playing offense and not running out of the midfield for them. And I say playing offense because he was barely scoring last year.
I know
of the position he was in.
I don't think it was that. I think he checked out mentally. Just didn't want to play with that program anymore. Because I think he's going to end up coming out of the box a lot with the Whip Snakes.
Well, he's going to do whatever he wants with the Whip Snakes because he's going to just be like, I'm playing with my best friend Matt Rambo.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he's going to play attack.
I'm saying I worded that incorrectly. He's going to be willing to do whatever the Whip Snakes want him to do because he's playing with Matt Rambo.
I just think he was tired of Chrome.
Because I'm looking at the attack group right now for your Denver Outlaws, and my oh my, is it bleak. Have you taken a look at their attack group recently, Deej? This is who they have listed as attackmen. They obviously traded for Deso during the offseason with the Archers. They sent Cole Williams to the Archers. So they have Connor DeSimone, Cross Ferrara, Logan Wisnauskas, and Dylan Gerger, who I read when I first saw that as Dylan Gangar.
Yikes.
And then their midfield is Justin Anderson, dog, Sam Hanley, Jesse King, who we know is playing summer box, so he's not going to be playing, and then Jack Myers. That's their midfield.
Myers could play attack if they needed him.
Yeah. But other than that, they have nothing. That's all they got right now.
So it sounds like they should be drafting BO.
It sounds like they should be drafting BO and trading with the Redwoods to acquire Ryan Lee.
I ain't gonna say all the extra. That's for you to cook up. I'm no trade master.
Chrome foil hats, everyone. It's fitting that it's with this team. It would not shock me if we get a draft night trade so that Nat can move into either the second round here by moving up with one of those third round picks and Ryan Lee, or some type of maneuvering before the draft to get into the second round, because I don't think he's going to be able to get in the first round with who's picking there. But if he can get in the second round and the Outlaws are like, okay, give us Ryan Lee and a third round pick this year and a future pick, and you get the third pick in the second round, or say, hey, we'll give you the first pick in the second round, depending on the package and everything, that wouldn't shock me.
I can see him getting in the second round. First round is
first round's off the board
and almost impossible. Once he gave the pickup for Chris, it was kind of sold that the Woods weren't picking in the first round, which I have my own opinions about, but they're mine, and that's why they're opinions. But I will see what he cooks up.
Because the Outlaws have the first pick in the second round, they have the third pick in the second round. So.
Yeah, so maybe he goes after the third.
I could see it. Like, it wouldn't shock. Like, if that happens, we'll be sitting here, if that happens, not being surprised in the slightest.
But I think he could get away with that being a pick for player. Ryan Lee straight up just for the pick and still keeping the 2 third-round picks.
Or if you have to do Ryan Lee in the 4th round pick or something, like, just because of the injury history with Ryan Lee in the past couple of years.
Maybe
being like, hey, like, we want some sort of capital gain depending on Ryan Lee's, availability and stuff. But I think it's something that is on Nat's mind, that you're kidding yourself if you think he's going to stay put with just 3 late round picks.
And honestly, I don't even think he's the only coach thinking about that, because a lot of these Denver guys are kind of spread around. So a lot of coaches are probably thinking about possibly shipping a Denver guy to get a higher pick, just to get him back into that program.
So there's a lot that can go down with draft night and everything. And man, that Denver Outlaws roster is bleak, to say the least, and needs a lot of work. But Nat's playing 4D chess on everyone's heads, and I love it. And it's basically they've made their first and second round pick already, the way you look at it, for how it's gone down. Nat St. Laurent has drafted Chris Gray, number 5 overall, and he's drafted Jared Connors, number 13 overall. And you're adding a prolific goal scorer in Chris Greasy to this offense that's already stacked with talent. And then you're getting a championship caliber LSM of the Year finalist, Jared Connors, into the mix as well. If you're a GM, and obviously this is how Nat's looking at it when he's making these acquisitions, is with his GM hat on. If you're a GM, you're making those moves 99% of the time.
Yeah, I just don't know about the Chris thing with first round. The talent that's in this draft offensively, I feel like he may have pulled the trigger a little early on that, but we're going to see how it works out. He's coaching GM for a reason, not me. So I'll pump the brakes on that.
He's going to be coming on the show soon. I was talking to Nat today. And I said, we got to get you on. It's been far too long since we've chopped it up. And he said, anything for the boys. So he'll be coming on the show soon. And Deej, should I announce some things for the people? A little
Why
something,
not?
A little something like this real quick. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll do this for the people. I'll do this.
I don't even think it's breaking news, but
Well, it's confirmed. and it's breaking to the people listening and watching. They don't know. We're the only ones that know, along with the two people I'm about to say. Joining the third annual OTB PLL College Draft Extravaganza companion stream on Tuesday, May 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. The man, the myth, the legend, the lacrosse gambling god himself, Mr. Newbie Talks, will actually be joining us this year. Was supposed to be on last year's stream, and his Wi-Fi had other plans, but he is locked in. You will see Mr. Newbie Talks on our draft stream with us, and joining us following the conclusion of the draft, and after he is done with his obligations with ESPN and the league, is your California Redwoods head coach and GM, Nat St. Laurent, joining us for the second consecutive season following the draft. And I am stoked.
This is going to be fun. I mean, our extravaganzas on draft nights are always super hype. So I can't wait to get back into it and talk it up on draft night, see who's get picks, the reactions, all of it. It's very much a time to be.
I'm pumped. We have more guests that we are working on locking in, so don't miss out. And obviously, last week we announced that all the supporter groups will be checking in with us throughout the night, to which DJ and I were guests on the Boston Battery podcast that is out now. Definitely go check that out. It was a ton of fun with those boys. They're doing a stellar job as kind of the faces of the Boston Cannons being home and in that Boston market. No free ads there. But it was a fun time. Had a lot of good banter, a lot of good discussion on there with them. And we are going to have each of the supporter groups. We're going to be reaching out to them for their homecoming weekends and having them join us on the pod to get those fan bases hyped up and ready for those homecoming weekends. So for the July weekend, they'll be hopping on our show to get ready for Boston's homecoming weekend, which will be a ton of fun. And definitely go check that out. We'll link it in the description as well, so you guys can go watch that. Go support them because they're doing a fucking awesome job covering the Cannons.
Yeah, dude, it was a lot of fun hopping on with them last night. They know their stuff. They're excited to be bringing the game to the people of Boston, bringing the Cannons back to people who are going to be excited to have their old team back in action, even though it's a new variation. So they're doing a lot of boots on ground work and really putting in a lot of effort to bring you guys more content and another side of the lacrosse world. So definitely give them some support. They're awesome guys.
Go follow the Boston Battery on the socials. And as we do each and every week, Deech, we tap in and talk about one-on-ones, which Mike and Paul get your podcast to do ads on our podcast and help us help you even more. Not that our platform's bigger than yours, but we love you guys and we want to support you guys. So come through. But one-on-ones this week, some interesting topics that it is very funny when I see these topics roll around, Deej. Almost every leadoff topic so far has been discussed by Mike on our show.
I know. It's insane.
It started with, why didn't the Midwest get a team? He came on and talked about that. Video game. That was for a long time. A lacrosse video game was our most listened to episode with me and Dom. And then Mike comes on. I do an interview with him on an episode. And the very next day, Top Shelf drops on the App Store. But kind of answers the same way he answered us 3 years ago and said, it's all about a demand and the game studios wanting to take that risk and knowing that the demand is there to put the money, the time, and the effort into creating a lacrosse video game, because obviously there's so many similar optics to a lacrosse video game that would come from an NHL game. There's a lot of overlay and overlapping there. But the amount of time that has to go into graphics, that has to go into, just a game design to have all the game modes that you'd want in a lacrosse video game, to have all the licensing stuff, to get league sponsors into the game, stuff like that. Like, it's stuff that you wouldn't think about on the surface. But the biggest one comes down to those game studios wanting to take that risk financially to creating a lacrosse video game. Do I think it's closer to happening now than it was 3 years ago? Yes. Is it close to happening anytime soon? I'd probably say it's like a 12% chance right now in the near future. There's a lot of logistics that have to go into it, and we've understood that for a while, and it's fun that they have finally voiced that, and something they voiced to us 3 years ago on our show.
Yeah, I think it's something that we're all dying for, but we know it's got to take a little bit of time. I think this is where I think the league should lean on fans a little bit more, maybe, and look to kind of maybe get some internships that are paid with like tickets to games or something, just something to get a group of people who have those skills and start to mock something up or, put something together and they can compensate them later or something. But I think the league does a great job of innovating and doing a lot of things, but I don't think they lean on the help that they have as much as they could. And I think getting a game going is some place where they could lean on the lacrosse community a lot more than just what they have in-house and front office and the connections they have. They could really spread out and be like, hey, who wants to help us get this initiative jump started? And I think they would be surprised at what they hear in return.
Yeah, and I think it's getting there. And Mike talked about it where like maybe they go to one of these game studios and say, "Hey, let's collaborate together and like have our team help your team and all that kind of stuff." And it's just a matter of an EA or a 2K or whatever gaming studio you want to think of that's in the sports game realm kind of come together on it and be the ones to take that leap of faith and say, "Hey, yeah, we're going to do this." Um the one topic I didn't get a chance to listen to on the episode, but I'm sure it's interesting. I can't wait to listen to it. Is they answer a question about the process for draft prospects and players that are entering the draft, which will definitely be interesting to listen to. And I'm sure it's a whole process in and of itself, as we've seen from the NLL drafts as well, seeing what you have to do to declare when you're eligible and all that kind of stuff. And then Samir, if you know Colin and Samir, who started TLN. Samir left a voicemail asking if they expected Lyle to be back in the PLL, which Paul said he hopes one day Lyle will come back, which would be awesome. But right now, it's one of those things that Lyle is in that dad mode, and he's taking care of his 5 kids who are playing summer sports, and it's easier for him to play MSL in the summer where it's right down the road from him and he plays in the home games for the Six Nations Chiefs and then plays in the NLL, and the travel was weighing on him, and his kids are starting to get a little bit older and they're playing sports and starting to grow up and wants to be there for his kids. And you can't blame Lyle for that whatsoever, and you can kind of hear the genuine support and like the friendship that Paul has with Lyle, and then the same type of relationship that Mike and Lyle have as well. It's obviously a little different because Mike didn't play with Lyle, but you could tell that like both of them support Lyle 110%.
Yeah, and I mean they're like that with all their players. They're never I think you would kind of see other leagues maybe like push against that a little bit with some of their guys and be like, "Hey, like we really need you here," but they're truly a player slash fan led league, so it's more about those people than it is about what's happening in the front office. Which they focus on the front office when they need to and a lot, but they still put a lot of focus on their players and fans, so they genuinely care about them and want them to do what's best for them. And if not playing in the PLL is what's best, they're fine with that. They understand that if with leaving the door open and having the support and the respect that they have for the situation and him allows that door to actually be open. And that's what people don't understand is open doors have to be on both sides. So if one side feels like the door is closed, it's not open. Even if you say it's open, they're still going to look at it as closed. So I think it's open on both sides. And if he ever does want to return, he'll swiftly make his way back in.
Yeah, and I think it was interesting, like not the tangent, but like the conversation it kind of like spiraled into with Paul talking about how a lot of these guys have full-time jobs elsewhere and are doing other things, and talks about how Michael Earhart retired this offseason. He's a big-time commercial real estate agent in New York City. And now they're talking to these guys that are coming in and how they can kind of change the path to getting lacrosse to be the full-time job, and talking to guys who are coming in and saying, hey, this is our outlook for the next 3 years of the duration of your rookie contract. Maybe hold off on the finance job because this is where we expect to be. And I thought that was such a cool first look and first like vocalized point from either Paul or Mike about like the future of the financials for players that are coming into the league, outside of like knowing like the rookie wage scale and stuff like that. But to hear like, hey, this is our 3-year plan. This is your rookie contract duration. This is where we expect to be. Trust us, and we're gonna be at this point by the time you're ready for your next contract. Which I think is interesting because then that kind of sets the tone for future players coming in, where like they don't necessarily have to rely on getting a 9-to-5 job during the week, and lacrosse can eventually become that full-time sport.
Yeah, it's a slow, steady race, and I think they're doing it in all the right ways. The NLL is also doing that as well. I'm not sure kind of how salaries and stuff are working on that side and when was the last time they went up and such, but it is a pacing thing. You can't rush into salaries. You can't rush into expansion. You can't rush into roster expansion. Those are things that affect the books as much as they affect the team and the stadium and the fans. So doing this balancing act, I think both leagues are doing a great job of finding that middle road that's allowing them to progress both in the league, but also the sport and still maintaining some financial value.
Yeah, so definitely go check out the new episode of One-on-Ones. Not an ad, but it's valuable information that you're not going to get anywhere else. To which we talk about Conference Championship Tournament Season Deej. It is college recap time with Portal Jones and college preview time with Portal Jones, brought to you by Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game. Why are you guys going to pay an arm and a leg for a pair of sunglasses, a pair of blue light glasses that are going to protect your eyes from the violent sun rays, the violent blue rays that are coming out of your screens, when you can go to Tomahawk Shades and get an affordable product for an affordable price that is better quality than those big eyewear companies, and you're getting that better quality for a fraction of the price. Tomahawk Shades has been rocking with us for years. Their sunglasses are elite. DJ and I are wearing them all the time. I wear the blue lights when I'm editing, and it's going to make your eyes feel better knowing that they're protected because you only get one set of eyes. So make sure you're taking care of them. Go to tomahawkshades.com or download the Tomahawk Shades app in the App Store or Google Play Store. And when you go to checkout, use code USP for 25% off your order. That's tomahawkshades.com or in the Tomahawk Shades app that you can download in the App Store or Google Play Store, and use code USP for 25% off your order.
Well, let's jump right into it. Ohio's got some big things going. Kane, Ohio Wesleyan, Muhlenberg, Dickinson, Worcester, Denison all playing in their tournament. Roanoke, Lynchburg going to be in battle. Swarthmore and Gettysburg still alive. Plymouth State already won today over UMass Boston 16-11 as they move on. Union and RIT in battle tomorrow. RPI and St. Lawrence as well on Friday. Wow, I said tomorrow. Got to stop doing that. That was Friday. Saturday, which most likely is tomorrow for most of you. Colorado Mesa and Colorado College. Cabrini and Marymount, Virginia. One last ride is still alive and moving. Middlebury and Bowdoin.
Not to cut you off, those helmets that Cabrini dropped are straight gas.
They are. They are doing things the
10
right
out of
way.
10, no notes.
For this last time around, they're doing things the absolute right way. Albion and Hope in the MIAA final. I'm not even going to talk about what happened this last week with Adrian. Elmhurst and Illinois Wesleyan, Baldwin Wallace, John Carroll, all going to be playing this weekend. And then the big game on Sunday, which is all alone by itself in the D3 game, Christopher Newport and Salisbury taking battle against each other. UND and Lewis will play in the D2 realm. Seton Hill and Mercyhurst will be in battle. Adelphi playing as well. That pretty much wraps up D2. D1, this is where it's going to get fun this weekend. We got games like Richmond and High Point, St. Joe's and UMass, Michigan John Hop, Penn State, Maryland, Georgetown, Providence, Drexel, Townsend, Vermont and UMBC, Denver, Villanova. That's all actually today as we record on Thursday. That's all popping off Thursday. Friday, we get BU, Army, West Point, Duke, Syracuse, Notre Dame, Virginia, Princeton, Yale, Jacksonville, Air Force, Penn, Cornell. As we expect, I think we're going to see a Syracuse, Notre Dame ACC final. I think the winner of Boston U, Army, West wins the Patriot League. I think Air Force, Jacksonville winner wins that conference. Ivy League is up for grabs between those four. I think John Hopkins will be taking on Penn State again in the final down in Columbus for that one. I think we get Townsend and Albany in their conference championship. I think we get Georgetown and Denver in their conference championship as well. So I think things are going to be pretty cookie cutter from what we've seen for the last couple of years in terms of in terms of conference championship games. I think we're going to see a lot of rematches from the last couple of years, not necessarily last year, but maybe the last 3 or 4 years. It's going to be a lot of repeats from those years.
So there you have it, everyone. Gear up. It's a wild
Selection
weekend.
Sunday it's coming. So hopefully your team gets in. I don't think
is that this Sunday?
Yeah. I don't think Michigan gets in unless they win against John Hopkins, and then maybe they can afford.
It's you versus Paul Rabel.
It is, and Paul's probably gonna win.
You versus Diggs,
and they're probably gonna win. K18 too. They're probably gonna win. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal at all.
I'm picturing like Hopkins versus Michigan, like the X-Men 97 opening sequence. Brian's going to love this. Shut up, Pacino Stan 88. It's Paul, K18, Diggs, and then I'm just throwing Russell Melendez in there because he's a fucking
like John
dog.
Crawley.
John Crawley's in the mix. Tucker Durkin is running with them. And then the Michigan side is you,
Schlosser,
KJ47, Mikey Schlosser, Nick Rowlett,
and Brent Noseworthy.
Just running full force at each other like the X-Men 97. See, if there's any graphic and video designer out there that could edit that together, I would love you forever and kiss you right on the forehead.
I think I can talk him into paying you for it.
It would be immaculate. I need that.
I need that so I can get it framed and put it right on the wall, right over there. Sorry,
it'd be hilarious. If there are anybody out there that can even just draw that, I don't even need the video. I can like play it in my head, but if you can make the video, we'd love to see it. But if somebody can draw that up for us, slide in the DMs, let us know. We would love that.
Please.
That's all we got for you guys on this episode. Make sure you guys are following us on the socials. Get us to 2,000 followers on Twitter and 1,000 on Instagram. At OTBLaxPod, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook.com/OTBLaxPod. Follow Deej on Twitter at SCS_NextGreat. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple and Spotify. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. Keep on subscribing. We're super close to a new milestone on Spotify followers too. Let's hit that this weekend. Subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. We're 19 subscribers away from 800. Let's get to that this weekend too. youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. Smash that like button, ring the bell icon, leave a comment down below on your thoughts on everything we talked about on this episode. Give us your postseason pick predictions in the comment section. And of course, subscribe to the Outside the Box podcast YouTube channel as well, youtube.com/@OTBLaxPod. And get your merch at phiapparel.co, code underground for 10% off your order. And this has been episode number 321 of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, and of course viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box podcast. For Deej, I'm KB. Enjoy this weekend of lacrosse. Enjoy Selection Sunday. And we will catch you guys on the next one. But until then, we're getting the heck up out of here. Peace.
Peace.